What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. As you can see, we're looking at the beast here, the Olight X7R Marauder. As you can see right there in the front, 12,000 lumens. So this thing is going to throw a lot of light. This is one of those Coke can style lights, so it's about as big as a can of soda. It is hefty, it is just beefy. And again, with a ton of output, a built-in battery, 30 days of runtime if you put it on the lowest setting, this thing should be pretty impressive. So let's see what comes in the box, give you some of the specs, and then we'll take it out and use it. All right, so here's everything you get in the box. Obviously, you're going to get the light, you're going to get the lanyard. It's got this kind of cool pop-out lanyard connecting system. I'll show you that in a moment. You get this massive holster. You get the plug, which you can plug into a wall, and this is a USB, and the other end goes into the base to charge up the light. And then you get a monstrous sheet of instructions, a variety of languages. I would say I'd rate the instructions for this Olight, and Olights in general, probably like a B minus. I think they're pretty helpful, but they could be clearer. So anyhow, let's take a look at the light and talk through some of the features. Here's a look at the light in hand. I'll show you the lanyard here. It does have one of these sliding retention buttons, basically, so you could slide it down, slide it up, depending on where you want to put your wrist through the loop. You can see this little kind of bluish section right here. That pops out, you run the lanyard through there. If you don't want to have that popped out, take the lanyard out, and that thing will actually slide back into the body of the light. So here's what it looks like in hand. Again, like the kind of that Coke style can, Coke can style light. Down at the bottom here, you can see that little, there it is, that little like lightning bolt symbol. So you're going to turn this that way to show the micro USB, and then back to close it up. So that way to expose it, that way to close it up. When it's exposed, you're going to grab a hold of your charging system, and you could charge this off a computer if you want to. It's just going to take longer than if you actually plug it into a wall charger. So micro USB, take that, slide it in like so, and then plug this end into your wall. When this glows red, that means that it's charging. When it glows green, that means that it's fully charged. Here's a quick look at the light in the holster. And I'll keep it in the holster, especially for a large light like this, but I don't ever put this on my belt. To carry this thing around on a belt, it just seems excessive to me. So I would keep it in a bag. This is a car light to me, a home emergency light. But if you want to put on your hip, you do have hook and loop there, and then there's a plastic D-ring. It does seem pretty sturdy, but you can hang it on some gear if you wanted to. So that's what it looks like in the holster. I do want to note here on the back of the holster, this is hook and loop, and then this is stitched, this blue line. If you remove that stitching, you're going to get this much more of space that you could run a larger belt through, or if you wanted to attach it to a piece of gear. So just a heads up on that, you can make this a little bit larger if you wanted to. Let me run you through the specs here based on the official Olight information. This is important when you have, particularly from Olight, you get lights that have a very high output, but you have to understand how long that will run. So bring this up a little bit closer to the camera. You can see at the highest level, Turbo S, you're going to get 12,000 lumens, and then it's going to drop down to 3,000 lumens. And underneath, you see that 3 plus 120. So 12,000 lumens for 3 minutes, and then because of the heat, it's going to drop down to 3,000 lumens, and then run for 120 minutes. So just something important to know. At your Turbo, 7,000 for 12 minutes, and then it's going to drop down to 3,000 for 110 minutes. And then high, 3,000 for 2 hours, 10 minutes. Medium, 1,000 for 6 hours. 500 lumens for 14 hours, and 10 lumens for 30 days. So that's kind of how the system works. Just remember that you're going to get 12,000 lumens, but it's not going to burn at that heat for 2 hours or something like that. You can see they say that the throw is going to be out to about 380 meters, drop resistant to 1 meter. It is IPX7 rated. And yeah, a couple of other details. So 665 grams or 23.5 ounces, including the batteries. It does come with 4 built-in 18650 batteries. That's going to be your battery kind of system that's there. You can't take those out. They're just, like I said, built right into the light. Let's talk through some of the features here. So I'm going to hold or press this button. You can see it's flash and go off, flash and go off. That's because it's in lockout mode. So to get it out of lockout mode, you're going to hold this down, 1, 2, 3, and then it'll flash, and now it's actually on, and you can scroll through the different settings. All right, so let's say you want to put it into lockout mode. You're going to hold this down. It's going to come on the night light or the moonlight level, and then it's going to lock out. So hold this on, And then when it goes off, now it's in lockout mode. So if I bump this, it's going to do that, but it's not going to stay on. So that's great for if you put it in a pack or something so it doesn't get bumped on and run the battery out. So we want to turn the light on now. We're going to hold it down. It's going to come on at that night light mode, so very, very low. Now hold it down. It's going to go low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. And then I'm going to click it again to turn it off. To get the light up to turbo, you're going to double click it and you'll see it go up to 7,000. Double click it again, it'll go up to 12,000. So this is going to pretty much wash out the camera, but we'll take it outside in a minute here. So this is double click up to 7,000, double click up to 12,000, and then click it again and it's going to go off. Next up here, I want to show you strobe, which is a triple click. So be ready for that. Here comes strobe, 3 clicks, 1, 2, 3, and into strobe mode, click it again and it goes off. Okay, I've dropped the lights down here. It's a little bit fuzzy, but I want to show you something here. We've got you can see this flashing O on the O light. We're going to put this down, and you can see that O is still flashing. And if you wait about 10 seconds, it's going to stop flashing. That is the motion sensor, and basically it senses that, you know, the light's not being moved, the light's not in use, and so you'll see that light go off in a second. So now it's off. This right there, that little circle you can see next to your 3 LEDs, is a motion sensor. And so when the light is on, if I put my hand up close to it, it's going to drop the light down to adjust for the fact that something's up really close. As soon as I pick this up, you'll see that green light comes on. So I've got the light on now. The motion sensor is working. I'm going to put my hand in front of it. You're going to see the light drop down as far as its brightness. And then when I take my hand away, it's going to go back up again. So watch this. Okay, there's the drop down. Now when I take it away, watch, it'll shine and then it'll turn it back up to its original brightness. So the reason for the motion sensor is because this thing burns so hot. At the turbo S setting, 12,000 lumens. At the turbo setting, 7,000 lumens. So if this thing is, it's got something up close, it's keeping the heat in, it's going to fry the whole system out pretty quickly. So you put something up close while this thing is on high, it's going to sense up, that's going to retain too much heat. So it drops down to that lower setting. Again, when you take the object or your hand away, it's going to go brighter again. So that's just a way of keeping it extra safe so it doesn't basically, cook all the internals on this light. We've talked through the details on the light. I've given you the specifications and such. What I want to do now is take you through 4 different types of scenarios where I think I might actually use a light like this. Here's scenario 1 where I would actually use this type of light. This is not like a light I'm going to bring backpacking into the woods. If I'm car camping, maybe I'll have it, but this is more an emergency type light, a searchlight for me. So what we're going to do is take a look at my car here, and you can see some of the reflection. Let me scroll up to the higher settings. So now we're at the 12,000 lumen setting, and this is going to drop down a little bit, but I put it on the ground. Let me move up a little bit here. I put it on the ground probably 15-20 feet away from the car, and now I can operate around the car. So this is different than just a headlamp where I'm working on the the one tire or working under the hood. Now I can kind of move around the back of the car, the front of the car, work on a couple things with different people at different times. It just gives me it floods the area basically. So having this in a car for an emergency situation where you got to work on the car but also get into the trunk, get into the under the hood, this light put a little bit away from the car, and now you've got kind of an area light that this thing would definitely be helpful for. Here's scenario number 2, and I'd be using this light as a searchlight. So you'll probably hear the beaver out there who's slapping his tail in the water because he's agitated that I'm nearby. But let's get this thing up to the highest setting. So there you go. That's 12,000 lumens, and I can see clear across the pond. I can absolutely see pretty much everything out there now. And again, after a couple minutes, this is going to drop back down. Look at that. Do you see that large thing flying in the air there? It's a great blue heron that just took off. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I just saw him fly around. There is a beaver out there in the pond. Obviously you can see all the lily pads and such here. Anyhow, what I'm saying is that, scenario number 2 where I'd use this light is as a searchlight. Somebody gets lost, somebody's in the woods lost, they're afraid somebody fell out of a canoe or something like that, and I got to help them try to locate this person. Well, here's a light that gives me just a ton of lumen output, so I can actually see who's out there in the water, whatever the case might be. So once again, I mean, I can see clear across the pond to the other side. I can see absolutely fine to the other side. If there was anybody walking along the woods on the other side, I would be able to locate them. And that is probably, yeah, I mean, they're probably talking, I don't know, 75 yards across. So Searchlight, option number 2 for the XR7 from Olight. Here's a third scenario with how I would use this light. So this is on the 500 lumen setting, and this is supposed to run for 14 hours at a full charge. But, you know, if it was nighttime and let's say I had to run this for, you know, say 3 hours just to give myself some light here in the kitchen because the power was out because of a natural disaster, you know, hurricane, tornado, storm, whatever it is, you know, 3 hours a night, let's say, give or take, and I've got 5 days of light for the nighttime. If somehow I can charge it up with a solar charger during the day, then I can get more power behind it. But, you know, just as an area light for me within the house, just shining this straight up at the ceiling, and I could certainly operate in the kitchen, do whatever I needed to do. This is one way I would definitely use this light in like an emergency scenario. This last scenario is similar to the first one in that I'm using this light like an area light, but rather than doing something like, oh, I'm fixing my car because I have a flat tire, what I was thinking about was, you know, some people are walking down the street, had too much to drink, they're getting a little bit rowdy, I hear a bunch of noise in my front yard, and I want to see who's out there, what are they doing, are they being aggressive toward my property, toward my house? And so I'm looking for something to light the entire area up so I can see what's going on, you know, who's causing trouble, whatever it might be, so I can make sure that my family is safe here. So I'm standing on my front porch, let's say, you know, I'm right by the front door, so looking out the front door, just crack it open, look out, and light up the front yard like so. Boom, now I can see everything. This is the 7,000 lumen option. Yeah, I mean, I'm shining it kind of over that flower bed. I can see the whole front yard. Shine it over here toward the driveway. I can see a ton. I don't want to blind my neighbors too much. Double click. We're at the 12,000 lumen. Not a huge difference between that 7 and that 12 as far as what you actually can see. But once again, you know, if I shine this out into the yard, you can see I'm shining it straight ahead. And I can see everything really well. So if there was anybody out here causing trouble, I definitely have a good visual on them now. All right, guys, let's wrap up here talking about the Olight X7R. First thing I want to tell you is that you can find it at Going Gear. There's links down below. Price is $279.95. Now, let me ask you a question, offer a thought, and then give you my final conclusions. The question is, what would you use these 12,000 lumens for 3 minutes to do? So again, 12,000 lumens, and the heat's going to get so high that it has to drop down, but that 12,000 is going to run for 3 minutes. How would that be helpful to you if you had this light? So that's the first question. The thought I want to offer you is the difference I saw between 7,000 up to 12,000 lumens as far as the output and the difference it made in kind of what I could see, to me seemed minimal. It didn't seem like a massive shift. And what I found is, you know, when you get up to the higher lumen outputs, you know, from 100 lumens to 1,000, that's a big difference. From 7,000 to 9,000 doesn't seem like a huge difference. Same thing as 7 to that 12,000. Didn't seem to be a massive difference. There is a difference. It just didn't seem like it was that huge. So that's just something I want to note. As far as application for me, this light is going to go into a home emergency kit. So lights for when the power goes out, hurricane, ice storm, snowstorm, things like that. Mainly I'm thinking connected to if I have to be out, say at night, shoveling or clearing ice off something. I've got a big bright light that's got a good spill and flood. And then the other thing is just lighting up the house like I showed you. You know, if I had to light up the kitchen so we could, you know, do some sort of food prep or do something in the kitchen at night, this thing will burn for several days, you know, if I run it for 3-4 hours every night. So that's my application for the Olight X7R. Let's hear your thoughts on this light. Leave a comment below, either answering that question about the 12,000 lumens or just thoughts overall on this light. Thanks as always for checking out the videos. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.